Well, good morning and welcome to Unity of Charlottesville. It's a sunny, beautiful, not so warm day, but we'll take it. We're sunny. My name's Rhonda Cooley and I'm the celebration assistant today, helping out our senior minister, Don Lansky. And today, as always, we start with song. This one's going to wake you up, so get ready.
1, 2, here we go.
I got up this morning singing, God is so good. Hell, I got up this morning singing, God is so good. I got up this morning singing, God is so good. My God is so good to me.
Feeling good down in my soul. God is so good, yeah. Feeling good down in my soul. God is so good. Feeling good down in my soul. God is so good. Oh, my God is so good to me. Woo!
In my time of trouble, I know God is so good, yeah. In my time of trouble, I know God is so good. In my time of trouble, I know God is so good. My God is so good to me.
In my time of triumph, I know God is so good. Oh, in my time of triumph, I know God is so good. Yeah, in my time of triumph, I know God is so good. My God is so good to me. All right, Jim. Yeah. Take it down now.
When the day is over, I know
God is so good.
Oh, when the day is over, I know
God is so good.
When the day is over, I know God is so good.
Oh, my God is so
Good to me.
every day, every way. God is so good. Yeah, every day, in every way. God is so good. When I take the time to praise the Spirit, God is so good. Oh, my God is so good to me.
Every day and every way, God is so good. Yeah, every day and every way, God is so good.
When I take the time
to praise the Spirit.
Take the time to praise the Spirit.
Take the time to praise the Spirit.
Take the time to praise the Spirit.
Take the time to praise the Spirit. God is so good. My God is so good to me.
Yeah, I got up this morning and I said, God is so good. Woo! I got up this morning and I said, God is so good. Whoa! I got up this morning saying, God is so good. Whoa! My God is so. My God is so. My God is so good to me. Is that energizing?
God is so good. Can't sleep in this joint. That's for sure. Morning, everybody. Welcome to Unity of Charlottesville. Welcome to everybody who's online on Zoom and our website, on YouTube, and on Facebook. We're glad you're here this morning on this brisk, chilly little morning here. And it's our custom, of course, to begin with prayer. So I want to invite us to settle in for a moment and take a deep breath. God is so good. Just take that in for a moment. That we run around all week in all our busyness and all our activities, and here this morning we just come together to remember and to settle down for a moment, to support each other in spiritual community, and to know that God is so good. God is so good. We give thanks for all the blessings in our lives. We know that sometimes there are ups and downs, sometimes there are challenges. We affirm that God is so good. That we're here for the learning and for the growing. That each opportunity to learn comes to us is a blessing. And so we send forth our prayers for healing and love to all those loved ones that we know that may be in need of healing in this moment. Maybe we're in need of healing ourselves. We direct that attention to any area of concern and affirming God is so good. And we know it doesn't always look like that. Appearances in the outer world are daunting. But we just send forth love and peace and prayers to all those in need this morning, especially to the war-torn areas of Ukraine, all the refugees. We send forth love and prayers for peace. We envision peace together. And we claim this in the name and after the nature of the great peacemaker, Jesus the Christ. And so it is. Amen.
And we conclude our prayer with our statement of faith. Together, there is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life.
God the good, omnipotent.
So let's stand up. This is a time where we get a chance to welcome each other from afar and say, hi, how you doing? Welcome back. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting a message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. And now Mark's in the back waiting for all the children for Kids Church tomorrow today. Have a great time, kids.
Yeah, we just have one announcement. Can you go to the next slide? We're still looking for Sacred Service folks for the media team, so if you are a good listener, have some desire to help out and make this seamless service move, you can see Bob Butts for that. And that's all.
Great. So together, let's affirm our mission statement. Unity of Charlottesville empowers everyone to express their unique divinity, making a positive difference in the world.
child believes, he'll live his dreams. His prayers are heard, he fears no thunder. And when he falls, he safely lands, guided by invisible hands. When a mother cries, she hides her tears, says the Lord provides, but she can't help wonder who'll give her child what his heart demands. Oh, invisible hands. Lost in the darkness, we are lifted by love. Whisper and somebody hears. And if we dare to make that leap of faith, somehow the bridge appears. When a silent storm knocks me down, and the tide and times pull me under, I'll stand again on these shifting sands, held by invisible hands. Lost in the darkness, we are lifted by love. Whisper and somebody hears. And if we dare to make that leap of faith, somehow the bridge appears. When a child believes, he'll live his dream. His prayers are heard, he fears no thunder, and when he falls, he'll safely land, held by invisible hands. Oh, invisible hands, held by invisible hands. Oh, invisible hands. Thank you.
You guys are the best. Oh, incredible. Well, you know, as war continues to rage in the Ukraine, I've been hopeful these last few days that with the knowledge that in the next couple of weeks there will be billions and billions of people around the planet praying together. And the reason that they'll be praying together is because Friday, April 15th is Good Friday for Christians. It's Passover for Jews. And Ramadan will have begun on April 1st. Ramadan is that month-long celebration in Islam, which celebrates the Prophet Muhammad's revelations of the Quran, the first initial revelations of the Quran. So lots and lots of people around the world praying. I hope that will make a difference. And for the third year since the pandemic began, Patricia and I are beginning to get emails from the Jewish side of our family who all want to come together and do a Passover Seder on Zoom, right? Which we've done before. It's kind of weird, but we've done it. And so I was thinking about the past Passovers of my youth growing up. And Passover was kind of like the Jewish Thanksgiving, you know. There was lots of food, lots of good food, lots of people. There was lots of laughter. And then there was always this seriousness, too, because we had to by tradition, retell the Passover story, which is all about God delivering the Jews from slavery in Egypt and passing down this history and this tradition from one generation to the next. And somehow, you know, my remembrance of old Passovers was that these very, very old people would be there. The elders of the family would be there. And somehow my first cousins and my brother and myself are now the elders. You know, how did that happen, I wonder? So one of the traditions of the Passover Seder is that we place, we create a place setting for the prophet Elijah. We fill his cup with wine, and the expectation is that, and we leave the door open or ajar, and the expectation is that at some time during the night, Elijah will come and take his place at the table. And in this way, he will visit every single Jewish family in the world, kind of like Santa Claus, right? So, as a child, I waited for Elijah to come every year. And sometime around the end of the meal, when the table was being cleared, I would notice that my father or some other adult would go over and drink Elijah's wine. Right? He never came. And it always struck me as being kind of odd and somewhat disillusioning, you know, kind of what children go through when they're processing whether Santa Claus is real or not, right? So Elijah is on my list of one of the cool dudes of the Bible. He's the greatest of the Hebrew prophets. He's celebrated in Judaism, in Christianity, in Islam. The Mormons, the Baha'i faith all celebrate Elijah as this great prophet. And in the Eastern Orthodox religions, Elijah is recognized as a saint, Saint Elias. And in fact, he's the patron saint of the Carmelite order. And there are a number of Saint Elias churches in the Ukraine. This is one of them in Kyiv. I'm hoping that they will be spared during these atrocities. Elijah is only one of two characters in the Bible who never died. He never died. He ascended in a chariot of fire. And for Orthodox Jews, Elijah is also part of the Jewish circumcision ritual. A chair is left empty for him at a child's circumcision with the hopes that Elijah will visit. And when he visits, the expectation is that he'll announce the child's potential to create a time of redemption and healing for the world. In Jewish folktales, Elijah is a humble wayfarer. He's a protector of the poor and the downtrodden. He appears and he disappears at will to help and assist people in need. And at the transformation or transfiguration of Jesus, it's only Moses and Elijah that are there, along with Jesus. So he's a pretty important character. The biblical story of Elijah occurs in 1st and 2nd Kings. And the central theme at this time was that the Israelites were turning away from God. They were turning away from the Mosaic law and the belief in Jehovah to worship other idols, the idols and the gods of the native peoples that were inhabiting that land, inhabiting the promised land that they were promised. Gods like Baal, who was the Canaanite god, and Baal's consort, Asherah, who were the gods of nature. And this is a big no-no, probably the biggest no-no of the Hebrew Bible, a violation of God's prime directive, which is to have no other gods before me. So Hebrew prophets arise during this time, urging the Israelites to turn away from the worship of idols and to turn towards Jehovah, turn towards the one God. And one of the worst and most evil kings at that time was King Ahab. And Ahab is married to Jezebel, who is a non-Israelite, and Jezebel is devoted to Baal and Asherah. King Ahab should have known better, but his wife was fairly, he was listening to his wife, let's say, right? So Baal and Asherah, as I mentioned, were the gods of nature and fertility, and Jezebel set out to put all of the Jehovah prophets to death. That was her mission, and Ahab was carrying that out for her. So as you know, in Unity, we tend to look at Bible stories metaphysically and analyze them metaphysically. So it's interesting to look at what the co-founders of Unity, Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, had to say about these things. Charles wrote that Ahab represents the error states of consciousness based on false intellectual reasoning, where the intellect drops to the level of sense worship. And Jezebel represents the counterpart in bodily sensation and desire, devoid of spirituality. So if you put them together, it's trouble, right? It's trouble. The union of Ahab and Jezebel symbolizes the whole person in error consciousness, devoid of spirituality. And in this setting, Elijah abruptly appears in chapter 17 of 1 Kings. Now, according to the Fillmores, Elijah means Jehovah is God, the spiritual I am in man's consciousness, the realization of God's unfettered power. That's the meaning of Elijah. And so God sends Elijah to the court of Ahab and Jezebel to declare that there will be a drought. Now, this is a direct challenge to Ahab and Jezebel because, first of all, Baal is in charge of the weather, not Elijah, not Jehovah. So Elijah's making a pretty bold step here, like prophets do. And Elijah says, no, Jehovah's in charge, and your gods are false gods. And so this First Kings tells of many miracles that God performed on behalf of Elijah. The first one being that after Elijah makes this statement in the court of Ahab and Jezebel, he's scared, I think. This is now, let me just do a disclaimer here. This is my interpretation. So you read 1 Kings and you decide for yourself what's true about it. But it seems to me that Elijah is scared. And the reason I say that is because God tells him to leave the court and hide by a brook. And at this brook, God sends ravens with bread and meat every morning and evening to feed Elijah, who is in hiding now, right? And then God says, go to Zarephath, and there you'll meet a widow who will give you food and hospitality. So he goes to this place, Zarephath. He meets this widow, and the widow says, I don't have very much to offer you. And Elijah says, don't worry about it. God will provide. And sure enough, God performs these miracles, and there's plenty to go around. Then the widow's son dies, and Elijah raises him from the dead. And know anybody else who did that? Yeah. So, meanwhile, it's 3 years into the drought, and God sends Elijah back to the court of Ahab and Jezebel. He must have been a formidable sight. His description is that he's hairy with a leather belt, animal skins, camel hair. Ahab calls him the trouble of Israel. I think he looks a little bit like Kevin, but I don't know. I'm just saying. So at this point, Elijah offers up a challenge to Ahab. He tells Ahab to gather up all of the people of Israel, to gather up the 450 Baal-worshipping men and the 400 Asherah-worshipping women, bring them all to Mount Carmel, and there they'll have a face-off. They'll have a duel of the gods. First reality TV. They'll have a duel of the gods, Baal versus Jehovah. Now, Mount Carmel represents a place in consciousness where we realize the fullness of our possibilities under divine law, and this is where the face-off will take place. So the rules are that each side will gather and prepare a sacrificial bull. They'll build an altar, they'll gather wood, they'll cut up the bull in pieces, getting ready for a burnt offering, but they won't light the fire. They'll wait for their gods to do that. And so the Baal worshippers go first, and they pray and they march around and they ask Baal to bring fire down, and they're at it from morning till evening, and nothing is happening. No answer. And so Elijah, there's a little bit in 1 Kings where Elijah begins to taunt the Baal worshippers. He says, where's Baal? Maybe he's on a journey. Maybe he's meditating. Maybe he fell asleep. Maybe he went to the bathroom. The Baal prophets step it up. They're not seeing any results, so and because they're not seeing any results, in their tradition, they begin to slash themselves with lances. And still there's no answer from Baal. So now it's Elijah's turn. He gets a bull, he puts the bull, puts wood on the fire, cuts up the bull. Then he does something weird. He digs a trench around the altar, and he fills it with 12 barrels of water. Now, you remember this is a drought, so he's filling this trench up with 12 barrels of water. He's soaking, completely drenching everything that has to do with the ritual. All of the wood, the bull, everything is drenched and soaked with water, making it seemingly impossible to light a fire, right? There was a Sunday school teacher who told this story to her Sunday school kids, and she said, "Now, why do you think Elijah did that?" And the little girl raised her hand at the back of the room. She said, "To make gravy." So, these are the Baal worshippers dancing around. And then Elijah finally calls on Jehovah, and fire comes down. It burns the wood, the bull, the stones, the dust. It licks up the water. It burns up everything. So Jehovah wins, right? The Israelites praise God, and in true biblical form, Elijah orders the death of 850 Baal and Asherah worshipers. They're all killed, 850 people. Now, if you think that's gross, which it is, remember that metaphysically, through a metaphysical lens, what's happening is that what's being killed are thoughts of error consciousness to make room for the recognition of divine oneness. Right? That would be a metaphysical analysis of that. So Ahab reports all of this to Jezebel, and she's absolutely furious. She sends a messenger to tell Elijah that the next day he will be killed in return for his dastardly deeds. And here's where I think the story becomes even more interesting. It's kind of interesting already, isn't it, a little bit? It gets even more interesting because what happens is that Elijah has just witnessed this incredible feat of God's power and his personal connection to God. It's absolutely amazing. And yet, you'd expect him to step up to Jezebel, knowing that he has that power and that relationship with God, but what does he do? He runs. He runs and he hides. He wasn't afraid of the Baal prophets, but he was terrified of Jezebel. So it's hard to imagine. Here is Elijah, afraid, he's depressed. Maybe he's even paranoid. And it's an interesting part of the story because it shows that Elijah is as human, the greatest of all prophets, is as human as we are. Here's the great Elijah. He's running for his life. He's afraid. Maybe he's depressed. And he tells God, he asks God to kill him. It's amazing. He doesn't want to go on living. And in a true biblical pity party, Elijah lays down and falls asleep. Have you ever wanted to do that? Just kind of lie in bed and pull the covers over your head? That's what Elijah's doing, right? He falls asleep, but God sends an angel down to protect him. And the angel touches Elijah and says, "Get up and eat." And he gives him hot cake and water, and Elijah eats and drinks, and then he lays down again. And the angel touches him a second time. "Get up and eat." And this nourishment sustains Elijah for 40 days and 40 nights until he reaches Mount Horeb. Now, you remember the metaphysical significance of 40. 40 is the number of spiritual completion. So you have 40 years of the Jews wandering in the desert. You have 40 days of Jesus' temptation. You have 40 days of nights and rain during the flood of Noah. So he reaches Mount Horeb. Horeb is where is also called Mount Sinai, where Moses was given the Ten Commandments. And there he is on Mount Horeb. Now, has this ever happened to you? That there's a dark night of the soul, that there's a kind of a spiritual restlessness, there's a spiritual crisis maybe even, where our faith is tested and we question our identity, we question what is ours to do, we question our purpose, we ask ourselves, why are we here? We ask God, why are we here? We may be going along in life and everything seems to be going smoothly, things seem to be going well, everything is going our way, we're having good experiences, we're feeling very spiritual, and then something happens, and we go from the mountaintop to the valley of despair. And we may not feel it at the time, but more often than not, we're blessed with seen or unseen angels who touch us with love and compassion, who feed our souls, who give us nourishment. Maybe it's a kind word or a kind action from a loved one or a friend, or maybe even a complete stranger. Or maybe it's something we hear on the radio or see on the TV or on the internet or find in nature. Or maybe a sudden insight of a realization that bolsters our spirit and that reminds us of the truth of our being, the truth of who we are. That somehow through the darkness, the message breaks through that you are loved, you are not alone, you are worthy, you are deserving, and there's no spot where God is not. So this is sort of a biblical description, a spiritual description of spiritual depression in a way, and also the prescription of how to get out of it. So remember, Elijah's deeply depressed. He's experienced the power of God, but maybe he felt it was short-lived. Maybe he didn't know if it was real. Maybe he felt like a failure. Maybe he lost his faith. Maybe he lost his focus. Maybe he was just so fatigued and so drained that he wanted to give up and die. And then the angel comes and touches him and demonstrates this love and this compassion. He says, take rest, eat, take care of yourself. So, metaphysically, the angels represent our thoughts as divine ideas. So all of this stuff is going on inside Elijah, really. Elijah's in Mount Horeb now, which is, as I said, where Moses got the Ten Commandments. And Horeb represents a high place in consciousness where we come into conscious union with the divine. That's where Elijah is. A high place in consciousness where we come into conscious union with the divine. And it's here that Elijah hears the voice of God, who says, why are you here, Elijah? I think I have that. Why are you here, Elijah? Now, if we meet someone at Whole Foods and they ask us why we're there, that's one thing. But this is God asking the question, right? It's not glib or superfluous. It's the deepest question at the core of our being. Why are you here? What is your purpose? What would you ask of your God? And don't we ask ourselves these questions as spiritual seekers from time to time? Why am I here? What's my purpose? What am I supposed to be doing? How can I make a difference? All of these questions. What should I be doing with my life? Now, even with this, even with God's voice, God speaking to Elijah, he's still depressed. He tells God that he's the last prophet, that the Israelites have broken their covenant, and he asks again if God will kill him, if he can die. And God says, step back, I'm going to pass by, and I'm going to show myself to you. Step back, I'm going to show myself to you. And in this act of incredible compassion and generosity comes one of the most beautiful passages in the Bible. In 1 Kings chapter 19, verse 11, it says, now there was a great wind, so strong that it was splitting mountains and breaking rocks in pieces before the Lord, but the Lord was not in the wind. And after the wind, an earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. And after the earthquake, a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire, a sound of sheer silence. Some translations use the word still small voice. So where do we find God? Not in the flash, not in the demonstrations, not in the destruction, not in anything in the outer, but in an unexpected place, in the silence within. This is the experience of Elijah on Mount Horeb, that he finds God in this unexpected place in the sheer silence. And yet, God asks him a second time, why are you here, Elijah? As if to focus his attention on his purpose and mission, to center him in who he is, to center him in his connection with God. And Elijah, after all of this, Elijah is still complaining. He says he loves God, but the Israelites have broken the covenant, and that he alone is the last of the prophets. He's still feeling alone and isolated, unsure. And so what does God do? God assigns Elijah to some specific tasks. He says, go to Damascus, anoint Hazael king over Aram, anoint Jehu king over Israel, anoint Elisha to take your place as prophet. Now this is a great prescription to get out of spiritual depression, to get out of spiritual restlessness. It's a wonderful coded prescription. First, take care of yourself. Take rest. Eat properly. Second, connect with the still small voice within you, with the sheer silence within you. Pray and meditate. Third, focus on your mission, or refocus on your mission, your purpose, your connection with God. And fourth, take specific action. Get moving. Get busy. Get out of your pity party. And one of the best ways to do that is to do some sacred service, to volunteer, to help others, to serve others. A great way to get out of your own pity party. And the fifth, is to be open and receptive to your angels, both seen and unseen, that you are not alone. Someone loves you. Someone is willing to help if you ask. If you ask. So I want to close with a story which is told about Elijah and the Jewish master, the Baal Shem Tov. Baal Shem Tov was the founder of Hasidic Judaism, an Orthodox branch of Judaism, mystical branch of Judaism. He was born in Poland, part of Poland, which is actually now part of Ukraine. So a lot of commentaries say that actually the Baal Shem Tov is Ukrainian. And the story is told about the Baal Shem Tov and about Elijah. And it goes like this. A Chassid, that means a student, a Chassid went to the Baal Shem Tov and said, Rebbe, I want to see Elijah the prophet. It's simple, said the Baal Shem Tov. I'll tell you what to do. You get 2 boxes and you fill one with food, and you fill the other one with children's clothing. And then before Rosh Hashanah, you travel to Minsk, and on the outside of town, just before the forest, there's a dilapidated house. Find that house, but don't knock on the door immediately. Stand there for a while and listen. And then shortly before the candlelighting and sunset, knock on the door and ask for hospitality. So the Chassid went home and told his wife that he would be away for Rosh Hashanah, and the wife was upset about that. She said, you can't leave your family on Rosh Hashanah. And he said to her, well, I had this once-in-a-lifetime chance to see the prophet Elijah. And the wife thought that was pretty cool, so she said, you should go. So he went and did as the Baal Shem Tov told him. He filled parcels with food and with clothing, children's clothing. He went to Minsk. He found a broken-down house at the edge of town. He stood outside the door, and he listened. And inside, he heard children crying, Mommy, we're hungry, and we don't have decent clothes. He heard the mother answer, Children, trust in God. God will send Elijah the prophet to bring you everything that you need. And then the Chassid knocked on the door. And the woman opened it, and he asked if he could have hospitality, and the woman said, I don't have anything. And the Chassid said, well, I have plenty, so come on, we'll be fine. So he goes inside. He came in, he opened the box, he gave the children all the food, he gave them all the children's clothing. This one took a hat, this one took a shirt, another one took some pants. And he stayed there for 2 days, waiting to see Elijah the prophet. He didn't sleep. He kept his eyes open, waiting to see the prophet Elijah. But he didn't see anybody. So he returned to the Baal Shem Tov and he said, Master, I did what you said. I didn't see the prophet Elijah. The Baal Shem Tov said, did you do everything I told you to do? He said, yes. And you didn't see him? No. Are you sure? Yes, Rebbe. I didn't see him. Baal Shem Tov said, well, you'll have to return for Yom Kippur. Go back before Yom Kippur with a box of food to the same house. Arrive there an hour before sunset, but don't go in. Stand outside the door and just listen. He tells his wife that he has to leave again for Yom Kippur, and the wife is again upset, but she says, well, this is your only chance to see the prophet Elijah. You should go. And so he goes. He goes back. This time he gets there a little bit earlier. He stands in front of the front door, but he doesn't go in. He just listens. And he heard children crying. Mommy, we're hungry. And we have to go the whole day fasting for Yom Kippur. Children, said the mother, do you remember that you were crying before Rosh Hashanah, that you had no food or clothes, and I told you, trust in God. He'll send the prophet Elijah, who will bring you food and clothing and everything else that you need. And was I right? Didn't Elijah come and bring you food and clothing? And he stayed with us for 2 days, and now you're crying again that you're hungry? I promise you that Elijah will come again, and he will bring you food. It was only then that the Chassid understood what his master, the Baal Shem Tov, meant. And he knocked on the door. This is a Twilight Zone moment. Right? You know, the moral of the story is that we all have the spiritual qualities of Elijah within us. And if we want to see Elijah, we have to go no further than our own self, our own divine nature. And as the name Elijah means metaphysically, our own spiritual I am nature. That's how we see Elijah. Each one of us has that quality, and each one of us, in a way, is Elijah. So thanks for listening, and let's prepare for meditation. You've been churched this morning. Amen.
In your in your presence, that's where I am strong. In your presence, O Lord, my God, in your presence, that's where I belong, seeking your face, touching your grace. In the cleft of the rock, in your presence, O God, in your presence, that's where I am strong. In your presence, O Lord, my God, in your presence, that's where I belong, seeking your face, touching your grace. In the cleft of the rock, in your presence, O God, in your presence, that's where I am strong. In your presence, O Lord, my God, in your presence, that's where I belong. See seeking your grace. In the cleft of the rock I see you, I hear you, in your presence, O God. In your presence, O God. In your presence, O God.
So if your eyes aren't already closed, I invite you to close your eyes. Relax even more deeply into this time. Feel your feet on the floor. Be aware of any tension that you may be holding in your body and just gently let it go. Like Elijah, we may have had times of spiritual restlessness. We may have been witness to extraordinary miracles and blessings and somehow forgot or became detached or separate. And we just take this moment in this meditation to remember to remember. Have there been angels in your life who have touched you or moved you or inspired you in some way? Even at times when you felt down or restless or alone. I want to invite us in this meditation time to be aware, to be grateful. To look around at those times in your life when things were difficult, challenging. And to remember that you were not alone. Even now, not alone. Beyond the worry, beyond the anxiety, beyond the outer world conditions, sheer silence, the presence. So let's take this time in silence now just to remember. To remember and to give thanks for all of the angels in our lives, both seen and unseen, in the silence. So let's begin to bring this meditation to a close and giving thanks for all of our blessings. And we begin to just open our eyes very gently and easily when it feels comfortable.
Now we have the great opportunity to give back, to give of our blessings and send them out to create 10 times more and more than that. So if you want to hold your tithe in your hand, we know that you can also give online. I use the Tithely app. It's very quick and easy, and if I forget on Sunday, I can do it on Monday. It's a wonderful thing. Or you can bring them in here or put them in the mail. We'll take it any way you can give it. So let's hold those in our heart, in our hands, in our phones, and let's bless those tithes and offerings together. Divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you. Another one to wake you up today, if you're not already awake. 1, 2, 3. It's good to be woke. What a wonderful morning, beyond compare. I feel God's loving presence everywhere. I am filled with joy profound in a world where many miracles abound. In the garden of my soul, I am happy, healed, and whole. I know that God is good and all is well. In the garden of my soul, I am happy, healed, and whole. I know that God is good and all is well. What a wonderful feeling to finally know love is mine wherever I may go, to see the world with open mind, to believe grace is here and life is kind. In the garden of my soul, I am happy, healed, and whole. I know that God is good and all is well. Again. In the garden of my soul, I is good, and all is well. Stand up. Let's clap it. Sing with me. All is well. 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 All is again. All is well. Sing it. All is well. All is well. All is well. All is well. In the garden of my soul, I am happy, healed, and whole. I know that God is good, and all is well. One more time. In the garden of my soul, I am happy, healed, and whole. I know that God is good, and all is well. All is well. So the blessings that we have given, we see them going out and doing great things, and we are so grateful for that opportunity. Thank you.
Well, we do have some opportunities for transformation. The first being this afternoon at 1 o'clock, we'll be doing a labyrinth walk for peace. And our facilitator is Marianne Wamhoff, who is a certified, accredited, it's an advanced accredited labyrinth facilitator from Veriditas. So we're doing this for two reasons. The first is that there is a sacred geometry to the Chartres labyrinth, and that is an exact replica of the Chartres labyrinth. So we will be amplifying our prayers and praying together for world peace and for specifically for peace in Russia and Ukraine. And then the second reason is that we will be raising money for UNICEF. So people are asked to bring donations, and all of the donations, 100%, will be going to UNICEF. So we hope you'll come. We publicize this throughout the community, and we'll see. We hope a lot of people will come.
Every Wednesday on Zoom, we have our midweek healing service. It's attended by a number of people regularly every week, so don't forget about that to get that boost midweek.
And of course, Easter coming up on Palm Sunday. We, for the first time in, I guess, 3 years, we'll have our Palm Walk here. So we'll look forward to that on Good Friday. We'll also have a meditation on Good Friday from 12:30 to 1. It'll be on Zoom, and the links will be sent out to you. And then Easter, we'll have our Easter Unity Communion. So we hope you join us for those.
And the Women of Unity are going to begin meeting on April 21st at 7 p.m. downstairs on the terrace level.
Blair? Sure.
We can give her a minute.
Yeah.
Good morning. I'm Valerie Freyer,
This is Ginny Kelly.
and we are co-leaders of Women of Unity.
Could you guys come up? You won't be seen by the folks online, so can you just come up on stage? Thanks.
We are co-leaders of Women of Unity, and as you know, the group has been in hibernation for the last couple of months, and we've decided that it's time to wake up and smell the possibilities. So we are inviting everyone to come to a renewal meeting on
April 21st at 7 o'clock p.m. downstairs in the terrace room.
And we'd like you to bring your ideas for how we can reinvigorate the women's group. It may mean changing the meeting time, it may mean changing the meeting place, but we want you all to bring your ideas on that evening, and we can create a group that is alive and feeds us all.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.
Okay, so Jan and JD are coming. In case you don't know who they are, the song that I sang today for the pre-talk, Invisible Hands, was written by JD Martin. And we do a lot of their music here. You may not be aware of it, but we often sing songs they've written. But of course, it's even better to hear them do the songs. So you have these opportunities coming up. They will be here at Unity on Sunday, April the 24th. And of course, they'll be doing the message and the music there, and you'll get to hear several of their songs on that day. But in order for them to be able to afford to come here, we've come up with a couple of other events that will raise money to pay for their expenses and give them a reasonable remuneration. So the concert is, one of the first concert on Friday, the April 22nd, is at my home. We have an outdoor stage there, and it's really fun. We invite you to bring a picnic. It's going to be kind of in the Friday evening early, so you can come. And I'll be opening with a couple of friends. We'll be doing a few songs to open it. So I hope you will come and join us. We've probably sold about 20 tickets so far, and that's wonderful. And thank you to everyone that's bought a ticket. We'd love to sell a few more to make sure we feel comfortable and safe and secure in the expenses that we've had to put out. All the proceeds go to Jan and JD. Thank you so much, and I hope we'll hear from more of you this week.
Great.
Yeah.
And we have our first Love University event on Saturday, April 23rd. This is the Yoga of the Soul, a Kundalini yoga class presented by Shing, and you'll learn more about that next week, so we hope you'll think about that. And that'll be in person here in the sanctuary. And our Unity Diaper Drive, we have just a couple of days left. It ends on March 31st, so thank you for everybody who's brought diapers for Sin Barreras. And if you'd like to bring some more before, I guess it's Thursday or Friday, please be happy to do that. And this is Ginger Collier's book study group, which is ongoing, and we'll meet again on Saturday, April 9th from 10 to 12.
And we do have a pastoral care team here that's always available for anyone needing prayer, visitations at hospitals, or anything that, anything you need. Also, we have virtual fellowship after the service today, where all those on Zoom can continue meeting. And we did last week for the first time, and I didn't realize how much I missed it, going downstairs and continuing the love and the energy that we have had in the service, and going downstairs and getting to actually talk to each other, have a cup of coffee, tea. We're not doing the food stuff, but there is coffee there again.
No, there isn't, I don't think.
Not today,
not
Jackie?
Today.
I
no,
thought I saw
no,
you.
No. Yeah, so here's the thing.
Well, we're going to try and get it back.
Yeah, if you want coffee and tea downstairs, somebody's got to step forward and do that. So if you do that, we'll have it, and if you don't do that, we won't. But you're still welcome to gather downstairs.
So we had it last week, but we're not having it today, just on virtual.
There you go.
But I'm working on easier ways to have that done. Without the food, we wouldn't have to have the preparation that's been involved with Shirley in the past. Handing
Okay,
that up.
so let's bring our children up.
Come on, kids.
We are walking as the light of God. 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 We are walking, walking, we are walking, we are walking, we are walking as the light of God. We are walking, walking, we are walking, walking, we are walking as the light of God.
Hey everyone, thank you. My name is Mark Boston, and I am your Youth and Family Director here at UOC. And today we talked about the fourth principle, which states, anyone remember?
We connect with God through prayer and meditation.
All right. Now, what does that mean to anyone? Does anyone want to share what illuminations we discovered today? Okay, yeah, you can start with that.
What we did today was, so we found out ways to calm ourselves down when we're mad, and also he read us a story while we could either color or just listen.
Awesome. Thank you, Parker. Morgan?
Back to the question, meditation means a lot for me. and probably for everyone, because it's one thing that we can all do anywhere, anytime, to calm us down when we're feeling sad, disappointed, or stressed.
Exactly. Very good. Very good. And Marley, did you have something that you wanted to add or no? Yes?
About the theme we had today, I think meditation being a pathway between us and God makes sense, because when everything is like hectic going on around you and you just need some time to think and pause and just focus on the simple things, I think that brings you like immense peace, and God brings you peace. And being peace lets you focus on the simple things around you and just get in the right headspace and be grateful for the things around you.
Fabulous, fabulous. Oh, the wisdom on this stage, huh? All right. Thank you all very much. Any volunteer teachers? Anyone want to? Hey, all right. See me after church. Anyone, just see me after church. And we have our Facebook page that we're starting up. So anyone interested in keeping up with what we're doing and all the fabulous things that are happening, connect with us. Connect with us on Facebook. How about we say our children's blessing together? Children, unity, while yours, teachers and parents, you are all loved, special, and important. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
So thank you, everybody who's helped out today. We have Carol Tram as his first day on the sound team. Thank you so much, Carol.
Hey, Carol.
And Maggie and Greg. And Bob Butts is off in cyberspace somewhere. And thank you to our blessing team, Diane and Barbara. And thank you, of course, to our music team. Let's give our fabulous music team a round of applause. Thank you, guys. Thank you all. Healing helpers are over here. Peggy Ruth is here for prayers after. And see you at 1 o'clock on the labyrinth. So let's stand for our prayer for protection. And together, the light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. And wherever God is, all is well. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as Creator, united all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony.
Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
And remember, whatever's going on outside of you and all around you, within you is the sheer silence, the still small voice. Have a great week.
You too. Good job, Rhonda.
hear what you're saying.